And the part I'm reading is about two people who immigrated and settled in Bwaise. As you know, you leave the village and the cheapest area you can live in is Bwaise. So it's very early in the morning. And Kamu, the main character, and his woman are still asleep. And then they hear a knock. And the woman, as usual, wakes up to go and open the door. And she's wearing this look like, how dare you knock very early on the door when my husband is in the house? But when she gets outside, she finds four men waiting outside and they are really stern. And she loses that confidence. And so they ask her to go back and call her husband, Kam. So that's where I'm going to start. Now, the woman and Kam lived in a two-roomed house in a terraced block in Bwaise, a swamp beneath Kampala's backside. Kampala perches precariously on numerous hills. Bwaise and other wetlands are nature's floodplains below the hills. But because of urban immigrants like Kam and his woman, the swamps are slums. In colonial times, educated Ugandans had lived on the floodplains, while Europeans lived up in the hills. When the European left, educated Ugandans climbed out of the swamps, slaked off the mud, and took to the hills, and raw Ugandans flooded the swamps. Up in the hills, educated Ugandans assumed the same contempt as Europeans had for them. In any case, suspicion from up in the hills falls down in the swamps. All swamp dwellers are thieves. On her way to the inner room, the woman stumbled on rolled mats that had slid to the floor. She picked them up and saw, to her dismay, that the bright greens, reds, and purples had melted into messy patches, obliterating the intricate patterns her mother had weaved. In spite of tons and tons of soil compacted to choke the swamp, Bwaise carried on as if its residents were still the fish, frogs, and yams of pre-colonial times. In the dry season, the floor in her house wept, and the damp ate everything lying on it. In the rainy season, the woman carried everything of value on her head. But sometimes it rained both from the sky and from the ground, and then the house flooded. Now, from the look of her mats, it had rained in the night. As she laid the discolored mats on the top of the skinny Johnson sofa, she felt a film of dust on her smart white chair backs. The culprit was the gleaming 5-CD Sony stereo, a fake Sony model made in Taiwan, squeezed into a corner. She glanced at it and pride flooded her heart. Since its arrival just before Christmas, Kam blared music at full volume to the torment of their neighbors. The booming shook the fragile walls and scattered dust. The wooden box on which a tiny Panasonic TV, also made in Taiwan, sat was also damp. If the moisture got into the TV, there would be sparks. She thought of shifting the TV, but there was no space for its detached screen. The woman squeezed behind the sofa and went back into the inner room. Kam was still asleep. She shook him gently. Kam, some men at the door want you. Kam got up. He was irritated, but the woman didn't know how to apologize for the men. He pulled on a t-shirt which hung loose and wide on him. When he turned, Chicago Bulls had carved on his back. He then retrieved a pair of gray trousers off a nail in the wall and put them on. The woman handed him a cup of water. He washed his face and rinsed his mouth. When Kam stepped out of the house, each man bid him good morning, but avoided looking at him. Come with us, Mr. Chintu. We need to ask you some questions, one of the men said as they turned to leave. Kam shrugged. He had recognized them as the local councillors for Bwaise Central. LCs, he whispered to his woman, and they exchanged a knowing look. LCs tend to ask pointless questions to show that they are working hard. As he slipped on a pair of sandals, Kam was seized by a bout of sneezing. Maybe you need a jacket, his woman suggested. No, it's morning hay fever. I'll be all right. Still sneezing, Kam followed the men. He suspected that a debtor had perhaps taken matters too far and reported him to the local officials. They had ambushed him at dawn before the day swallowed him. It was envy for his new stereo and TV, no doubt. They walked down a small path, across a rubbish-choked stream, past an elevated latrine at the top of a flight of stairs. The grass was so soaked that it squished under his steps. To protect his trousers, Cam held them up until they came to a wider road with a steady flow of walkers and cyclists and cars. Here, the councillors surrounded him and his hands were swiftly tied behind his back. Taken by surprise, Cam asked, "Why are you tying me like a thief for?" In those words, Cam sentenced himself. A boy, it could have been a girl, shouted, a thief, they've caught a thief. Boise, which had been half awake up to that point, sat up. Those whose jobs could wait a bit stopped to stare. Those who had no jobs at all crossed the roads to take a better look. Now for those whose jobs came as rarely as a yam's flower.